Hello, everyone, and welcome to EVTN News. I'm going to start today by mentioning, I guess, the news you've all heard that Francis is in the hospital and his condition is worse than originally reported. That doesn't really provide a whole lot of information, but um, you know, we'll there's no way to obtain this information until it actually happens, and I don't know. The Vatican has notoriously been shady with releasing the information of the health of popes. So I don't have any insight into it, and just kind of I'll see the news just like everyone else. So we're gonna start today. So last week there were different things that took place before Francis' hospitalization, and Francis got into kind of a shouting match with JD Vance. Not really a shouting match, but kind of a back and forth. And at this point, it's sad to say, but I think a lot of people are with JD Vance on this one. Francis said, "I have followed closely the major crisis that is taking place in the United States with the initiation of a program of mass deportations. The rightly formed conscience cannot fail to make a critical judgment and express its disagreement with any measure that tacitly or explicitly identifies the illegal status of some migrants with criminality." So that's kind of what you get with Francis, and he's getting increasingly brazenly political. Um, George Neumeyer wrote a book in 2017 called The Political Pope, and that was before people started taking notice, but Francis has always been political, and I don't unfortunately expect that to change. Of course, you can always direct your prayers for that intention of him changing his mind on a lot of things, and before it's too late. I don't know. Benedict lived to age 95, and if that's the case with Francis, he's got 7 more years to go. Not that that will happen. It seems like his health isn't great, but nothing that there's um, nothing to suggest anything either way. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Um, okay. So, and at the end of this video, I do want to kind of summarize my thoughts on Francis being hospitalized, but we'll get to this stuff first. Pope Francis has accepted the resignation of Detroit's long-serving Archbishop Alan Vigneron and nominated Arizona Bishop Edward Weisenberger as his replacement, Tucson, Arizona. Um, Weisenberger has been an outspoken critic of Trump, taking aim at his immigration policies during the first Trump administration. The 64-year-old Weisenberger, a canon lawyer, was among the most stringent in America in applying restrictions on the faithful during the virus crisis, closing churches and implementing face covering mandates in the spring of 2020, while encouraging Catholics to take the jabs. Weisenberger released a statement in September 21 instructing all priests within his Arizona diocese not to cooperate with any individuals seeking our endorsement of an exemption from the jab or face covering mandates based specifically on the Catholic faith. So, just very, very much into the virus religion. He is also pro-LMNOP, with 5 parishes in his former diocese being listed as LMNOP friendly on the New Ways Ministry website. So, kind of the contrast from the conservative Vigneron. Vigneron also, um, I don't know the status of Detroit. I don't know if it's a growing or declining area. I don't think that the city of Detroit is particularly, what I want to say, I don't think it's particularly economically successful. I think it's kind of run down just because of the auto manufacturers exporting or outsourcing some parts of manufacturing jobs. But Vigneron did allow the Latin Mass to thrive in the Archdiocese of Detroit, and this there are close to 30 separate Latin masses offered in the Archdiocese of Detroit, 30 different churches. I think it's around 30, 28, 30, somewhere around there. There's like some sporadic ones during the week, and this is really going to throw that into question because, it seems more and more like bishops are fading to one side or the other. And one side is the rainbow bishops. They're into the synodality nonsense. They'd be okay with women deacons. They hate the traditional mass. Um, and then the other side is the bishops that want to see the Catholic faith grow. And they're the ones that presumably have supernatural faith, and it's very clear where the divide is. And Francis is promoting more and more ambitious Francis bishops who are pro-immigration, anti-Trump, and he's gotten very political. And in fact, this next archbishop that I'm going to talk about is this is even this is a much bigger deal than the previous one, even though this is a pretty radical move. And it also shows that Francis will move anyone from anywhere. He's not, it's not confined to region. Although I'm really surprised that Stowe didn't get one of these positions. I'm really surprised. But that might be coming up very soon. We'll see. I've been hyping it up for a while and it hasn't happened, so I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But these guys are radicals, and he's promoting them to archbishops, so basically stacking the deck against the Catholics. And with this appointment, this is particularly sinister. This is massive news with this next story, and I haven't seen it really reported anywhere. I did bring it to Frank Walker's attention on Canon 212 when he posted a link, but just listen to this. Okay, Francis on Wednesday accepted the resignation of Cincinnati Archbishop Dennis Schnurr. Let's see. So Schnurr had banned the Girl Scouts from his archdiocese because they support LMNOP stuff. The management does. And that was recently. And I said, oh, he's not going to last very long. And what do you know? He was replaced. So his replacement is Chicago Auxiliary Bishop Robert Casey. And so the first thing is, this is unprecedented that any auxiliary bishop would be promoted straight to archbishop, because the archbishop is, in a sense, in some issues, would be sort of like a step above a regular bishop. But this guy has never even managed a diocese. He was in Chicago, just kind of hanging around and doing whatever, and then he goes straight to archbishop. That's unprecedented. I don't know if that's ever happened before. I'm sure it has somewhere, but really unlikely. Now, coming from Chicago, yeah, Bernardine Network. So, and here's some more information that is really shocking, honestly. He was the director of Casa Jesus, a Hispanic LMNOP priest recruiting organization in Chicago. It was opened in 1987 under pro-LMNOP Cardinal Bernardine. It was closed in 2016 after a former rector was charged with the possession of child porn. And Casey was working as its full-time director in 1999. There was some other LMNOP activity among the priests from that organization. During that time, of course, 2016 it was shut down, so no more. even on its Wikipedia page, there's just a lot of there's several stories and instances of things that have happened at that place, and just his association with this really concerning. So we got another Francis bishop there, and Francis isn't concerned about the immoral character of these people. Certainly not. In fact, the ones that have, the ones that are promoting, disordered lifestyles, they're the ones that get promoted. They're the ones that rise up the ranks. So this is big news. I'm surprised that no one else picked up on this. Really surprising, very concerning, and you'll see it here on EVTN News. So, I mean, I had to point it out. I have the platform to do it, so that's what I do. Not really patting myself on the back there, just really surprised that no one else can see right through this. Okay, now, Viviana Schwank de Oliveira, a female Anglican preacher, concelebrated with 7 bishops and 80 priests at the installation Eucharist of Bishop Odelaire Jose Magri, age 61, as the Archbishop of Chapeco, Santa Catarina, Brazil, on February 9th. So this was a female Anglican preacher. The woman entered wearing a blue tunic and a stole, along with the priests and bishops in the entrance procession. She stood in the presbytery, actively participated in the Eucharistic consecration, and grabbed communion. Archbishop Magri, during his installation Eucharist, spoke of the ecumenical significance of the presence of different religious authorities at the celebration. He mentioned the woman and referred to her at the meal or at the freestanding altar. So he mentioned her by name, and then later he apologized and said, "Oh, let me get the quote here," because it was really ridiculous, his apology, because if he would mention her, the fact that he mentioned her during the Mass is really a cause for concern. Okay. Oh, it was here. He said it was unintentional. He said it was an isolated incident of unintentional violation of liturgical norms. Well, she was there. I mean, it's so compromised. This is so compromised. The Francis Church and the Novus Ordo Church, it's unbelievably compromised. Okay, yeah, so that's that. And I don't like that excuse. It's kind of ridiculous. All right. So, all right, I'll get to what the Francis bot means in a second. So Pope Francis, aka the Francis bot, has appointed Bishop Kevin Duran as the new bishop of the Diocese of Achonry, in addition to being bishop in the Diocese of Elphin in Ireland. The announcement, published February 16th, means that the 2 dioceses of Achonry and Elphin are joined in persona episcopi, or in the person of the bishop. So this is effectively a merger of the dioceses. It already happened somewhere in that region, maybe Wales, and this might become common as mass attendance declines in different places and churches close, and they might just try to merge bishops instead of appoint new ones. And I think so. I think that the Vatican wants to merge Steubenville into Columbus in Ohio, the United States, but that's tough because the Bishop of Columbus is fairly Catholic, and Francis right now is looking for dissenters, and So that might be what's holding up the merger of Steubenville. That's my suspicion. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about the Francis bot. Frank Walker of Canon 212, I think he created the term Benedict bot, and that was whenever Benedict resigned and he was rushed into his own room and never was able to make a public statement. Oh, they say, oh, but he made public statements. Well, he made public statements through someone else. It was what he made public statements that they wanted him to say. See, if Francis didn't want him to make a public statement, the statement wouldn't be public. I mean, that's just kind of basic how it is. So basically, what it means, and this is the Francis bot, someone else is controlling what Francis says or the documents that he supposedly signs, the permission that he gives for different things. So everything is determined for him by someone else. And now that he's in the hospital, this diocese merger effectively happened whenever Francis was in the hospital. He also appointed the woman to lead the Vatican City or government or something while he was in the hospital. So he may not have done it. It might have been someone else. Parolin. Watch for different things. Watch for different things that come out of the Vatican, different decisions that are made. I know Cardinal Roche really wanted to crush the Mass, the Latin Mass. And now he's got an opportunity with Francis in the hospital. He could push something through. Will it happen? I don't know. But they can start doing more of the things they want to do, like women deacons and bishop appointments. You know, if you have a particularly evil nuncio, I mean, ours is pretty terrible. You could have some pretty rotten bishops named. And they're just going to try to push through things that they want to get through. And while Francis is sort of sidelined, and he may be sidelined permanently, you know, if he never comes out, never makes, and he might make public appearances, but now is he a prisoner in the Vatican? Who knows? Farrell is in on it too, Cardinal Farrell. I'm not quite sure of everyone, but I know Parolin would be a major player in that. Francis surrounded himself with really shady characters, and now he's getting what he asked for. These guys are going to be making the decisions for him, and now that he doesn't speak, now that he doesn't, he's scaled back on his speeches. You just kind of wonder who's going to be making the decisions, and don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if someone else is making the decisions. So, and this is going to be, I mean, I expected a lot of things to kind of accelerate quickly. So, maybe there will be some kind of women deacon thing. I don't know. There's going to be some things that are going to be probably pretty radical, pretty bold, I would say, coming out really soon. If I had to predict. Okay, now I see a comment here. Did Benedict have some of the health conditions Francis has? I don't think so. Yeah, so that's actually a good counterpoint to what I was saying about Francis living for 7 more years. He is 88, but I think people think that I don't know. I guess it's really hard to predict, and again, the Vatican, they're not going to release a lot of medical details. And over the weekend, they said, "Oh, Francis is doing fine," and then today they said, "Oh, it's a little bit worse than we thought." And so, how bad is it? He did have emergency surgery the one time, and they never said anything. They never even said it after the fact. It was kind of discovered. What do I want to say? It was kind of discovered through like secondary sources. So, yeah, the health of Francis is never going to be. I don't think it's ever going to be accurately released. Um, okay, so that's all I have for you today. And again, this story on the auxiliary bishop of Chicago promoted to the archbishop position of Cincinnati, that's a major story that all these media outlets haven't picked up on for whatever reason, and it's a really important, significant story. But anyway, okay. I'm done with that. Report it to, if you have any connections, report it to the people that you know. Tell them to run this story. This is a big deal. Until next time, this has been EVTN News. Thank you so much for watching. We are the laity, and we will not be silent.